Heute ist ein sehr schöner Tag.
Today is a very nice day because I just arrived in Hamburg. Finally back in Hamburg, although unfortunately not quite in Hamburg yet. I'm in Bispingen, which is just outside Hamburg. And I will visit a store that I have not visited for a very long time. And it's definitely one of the most sexiest Vespa workshops in Germany. Scooter and service.
Good morning, Jesko.
Good morning, Wolle. Nice to see you again. It's been a long time. I haven't been to your new store yet. Since when have you been in Bispingen?
For almost 5 years now.
Has that changed your business model a little bit as well?
We have always focused on customizing and tuning Vespas, as well as working on projects. But in Hamburg there was also still a lot of day-to-day business, so that means there were constant ongoing repairs. Basically, that doesn't happen here anymore. We actually work 95% of the time on larger projects here.
May we see your workshop?
Yes, of course.
Perfect. Do you have coffee too?
Yes, that too.
That is always the most important thing at the beginning. The coffee is ready. Great.
This is my corner, where I hang out when I'm sitting at the computer or making music.
The computer is within the reach of the coffee machine, so not much can go wrong. Personally, I find it very interesting that there are 3 guitars next to the computer.
I actually used to be a professional musician for many years.
That means you went from being a professional musician to a Vespa shop owner and customizer.
The music plays for us in the workshop.
Okay, let's go to the workshop then.
Yes, let's go there.
Very good.
This is the new scooter and service workshop. A lot is still old, but most of it is totally new. There's also a new dog now.
Oh yeah. I also see an employee here who wasn't there 5 years ago, right?
That's right. I'm Mark.
Hi Marcus. I'm Jesko.
I deal with sheet metal work, vehicle body work and welding for the most part. Marcus runs most of it here in the front.
There's a small frame with a Rodex engine. I've seen that somewhere before.
Yes, we used to have that more often. It is very special because it is water-cooled and will be built in the style of an SS90 replica.
And what is this?
This is a PX, as you can see.
Of course. That was my first thought too.
This is one of our Superflow series models, and we have made it our mission to use Vespa PX bodies to create an oldie style according to customer wishes. In this case, they are GS160 side hoods with a GL handlebar on the front. There's of course an immense amount of bodywork required before that to make a PX look like this. We'll get to that later when I show you the sheet metal section.
That's where a scooter basically starts. With the body, of course.
Exactly.
Then let's go there.
Here's the tin paradise or my living room.
I think this is a lot of work. How many segments does this exhaust have?
52 segments.
52? And how long does it take you?
You will need like a full week for this.
Are these fenders adapted for the oldie fenders on a modern fork, such as the Kosa fork?
Based on PX forks that we shorten, we built super low forks from them to lower the vehicle width. And since the oldie fenders are much narrower than the PX, those have to be modified so that it all fits together in the end.
I think it's very cool that you can see the technique behind it. So you can see that everything is nicely integrated by hand. I like it very much. Tell me, Are these also the segments of your own exhaust systems?
Wir entwickeln die selber.
We develop and build the segments ourselves. This is a segment set in stainless steel, but it's not yet complete. We have the segments lasered like this and are then bent round by hand, as you can see from the cones here.
Do you do that yourself on these rolls?
Yes, exactly.
Good. Then let's move on.
Yes, let's continue.
Ist das dein
Is this your color range?
I walk through Bispingen at night and paint the whole town.
Ja, Vintage Raw Style.
I do paint jobs here that more or less have the shabby or rust look, also called vintage raw style.
Ja, das ist ein Beispiel.
Here's an example of a raw style paint job and how to do it. In this case, it's painted in mustard colors. I make them look more or less rusted or just slightly used.
Also das, wovor wir hier stehen, das ist für mich eigentlich das Spektakulärste.
Where we stand is the most spectacular thing in the whole store for me, because we're standing in front of a lot of lifting platforms. And on these lifts are actually only custom projects. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 scooters. It's like a custom scooter manufacturing, as I said earlier, and it's really quite remarkable in that way.
Ja, wir haben einfach eine Gesamtkonzeption.
We have an overall concept where we can do everything here in the house from the first step to the last. We do body and sheet metal work, tinning, build exhaust systems, paint, final assembly and dyno tuning. I think that's probably the unique thing in the end, that we do everything ourselves from start to finish.
Aber das ist das, was
When I see this, something comes to mind. You said to me that you wanted to specialize in this and you had a certain business model in mind. And when I see this row of scooters, it looks to me like it worked out pretty well.
Yes, that worked out well. Basically, it's what I actually wanted. Everything worked out just right and I'm completely satisfied.
Es stehen hier völlig unterschiedliche Rollen.
Very good. There are completely different scooters here. The projects you see here in the front and in the back, and the finished scooter in front of us. They are very different overall concepts, but when it's finished, you can tell it's made by Scooter and Service.
Vermutlich ja.
Probably yes. We call the whole thing Super Low Series because I just think the word is cool and we have these shortened forks that just make the center of gravity lower. That also fits the audio look, and so this overall concept came about and we've kept it going ever since.
Ich finde das cool, weil du hast ja es geschafft, eine Marke zu entwickeln.
I think it's cool because you've managed to develop a very respected brand, and you can see that it has a certain style. Alright, what do we look at next?
Maybe we'll go back to the workshop at the front or we'll just stop here for a moment.
That's a white frame, right?
Nein, das ist eine PX, die wir umgebaut haben zu einem klar Wide Frame Style.
So that's a PX that we've converted into a clear wide frame style. The lamp is down and everything is stylized, of course. It doesn't have an original Netherlands handlebar, as I like to call it, because rather a motorcycle stop handlebar from Crimas. And the most noticeable thing is that we have installed a small frame engine in a large frame body, namely a 288cc BFA engine.
Das ist wirklich spektakulär. Also, es fängt
This is really spectacular. It already starts with the solution of the lamp here in front. I find that very nicely integrated. Then, of course, the rear looks like the rear and side panels from a wide frame, but it's all built on a PX frame.
Also ein 288er BFA.
So a 280cc BFA engine is sort of the brother or sister cylinder to the 306cc BFA, with a direct intake here in the front. It also has a similar requirement as the large frame with a 306cc engine. The engine and the whole concept is already very mature and very cool, I have to say. Very nice.
So, Wolle.
So where are we now?
Ja, in unserem Zelt, wo noch weitere Projekte stehen.
In our tent with more projects. They are all customer projects that are either waiting to be repaired or about to be delivered.
But it's awesome, because this tent alone looks like a custom show.
Hier siehst du auch tatsächlich eine ganze
Here you can also see a whole range of PX models that we have converted apart from the small frame here in candy apple red.
Ach, das ist lustig, wenn man
That's
hier
funny.
vorsteht, ne?
When you stand in front of it, you think you are in a tent with oldies, even though they are all converted PX or custom scooters. What is this project?
Das ist gar kein Projekt. Das ist einfach eine Kundin, die ihren Roller
This isn't a project. It's a customer scooter that we're supposed to check out. And she obviously had the scooter painted in Pakistan.
Vorne haben wir noch eine Martini-Lackierung.
Here in the front, we have a silver-based martini finish. I believe these come in white and silver as the base color.
Das ist auch ein Projekt, das hat irgendwer anders schon so gebaut mit der Lackierung und hier geht es jetzt um technische...
This is also a project that someone has already built with the paintwork. And this is now about technical improvements, like a modified engine setup and things like that. So not only do we build completely from scratch projects, but we also repair scooters, restore them and so on. This small business is almost gone because we're sitting here on the edge in the middle of nowhere. And nobody comes here from Hamburg, because they only need a new rear tire.
Ja, Wolle.
Now, the final question, Wolle. How do you imagine the future?
Ich möchte tatsächlich eher klein bleiben, mit 2, 3 Mitarbeitern, klein und
I would
speziell.
actually like to stay small and special with 2 to 3 employees, because I don't see myself as a typical corporate executive who employs, manages and controls a horde of mechanics. I would rather have a small circle of creative and good craftsmen here. We see ourselves more as a small manufacturer and we want to stay that way.
So, damit kommen wir langsam auch an das Ende unseres Videos.
This brings us to the end of our video. I say many thanks to Wolle and Marcus. I absolutely have to come back, because the real highlight is here above me. The whole roof is actually a Carrera track. And Wolle promised me that when I come back, I could play with it, right?
Sehr gerne.
Of course you can.
Gut. Dann, wenn ihr noch mehr sexy Vespa
Very good. If you want to see more Sexy Vespa workshops, then ring the bell. See you next time. Cheers!
Prost. Tschüss.
Nochmal?
Oh ja, ich fand den schon schön.